Well, Christina's here to talk to us about the postpartum period, but I would love for her to be able to share with you whatever she'd like. I'm sure all these beautiful doulas want to hear something about your birth and how that was for you. And then let us know about how it was, like, how old is little Corey now?
He will be 4 months, 15 weeks next Saturday.
Time flies.
I know.
You're just up in the hospital.
Just we were in the hospital. Yeah, I mean, it feels like, I can share like briefly the birth. So he's my oldest. He just turned 9 a week ago.
Happy birthday.
And I was younger then and kind of just like, well, whatever like Kaiser tells me is what I'm gonna do. And I had no problems during pregnancy except like being obese. So they were just like, don't gain a lot of weight. I didn't have gestational diabetes with him. I went in, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get pain medication. So I had an epidural. When they first stepped me, it didn't take, they stepped me again, half of my body took, they stepped me again, and all of my body took. I pushed for like 19 minutes and he was there, but they used a suction on him that I didn't even remember until I was, when I had him, they were like, oh, you had a birth with a suction? I was like, I did? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, I didn't remember that, but okay. And so, with him, I just remember like my back really hurting a lot after, and that's when I started seeing a chiropractor. Then with Christian, I was borderline gestational diabetes, but they didn't assess me with it, so pretty much I was as normal as it could be. I was still, kind of young, and I was like, oh, the first one went okay, so I'll just do the same thing. So with him, I had an epidural, but I had group B strep. So they made me have 2 bags of penicillin. And it wasn't I was at 4 the whole time I was in there. And then they checked me and they were like, well, let's bust your water. And I was like, okay. They busted my water and he was right there. And they're like, we're not ready. And I was like, really, I'm ready. And they were like, well, you're our first natural birth of the day. He was born at 4:20 in the afternoon. He was the 10th baby born that day and was the first vaginal birth. Every other birth prior to me was the cesarean section. And I pushed twice and he came out. With Corey, so almost 2 years ago, I went to the hospital. Sorry. And, I had pulmonary embolism from birth control pills. So I've been on birth control since I was 14 to regulate my periods because they were really heavy. Like I bled every other week, basically for a week, every month. And my mom was like, this is ridiculous. And they were like, well, she's 14, you put her on the pill. My mom was like, that's gonna stop her from like bleeding all the time, then okay. And, I'm the lowest dosages, so basically for like 19, 18 years, I was on some form of birth control, mostly the pill. And, they tell you the side effects, but you never are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a blood clot in my lung. That's gonna happen, and so they did all the stuff, they couldn't find anything, they're like, well, let's do a CT scan, and it came back like 7 years later, like, you have a blood clot in your lung. It was caused from your birth control. If the doctor didn't ask me if I took birth control, then I probably would not be here. They would have sent me home and whatever. So because of that, I was on no protection. Before it came, and we were like, okay. And so this one, I was like, I know it's going to be different because I would take blood thinner every single day of my pregnancy. In the last 3 weeks, I had to take it 3 times a day. So I was administering a shot in my stomach every day. And then towards the middle of the pregnancy, they were like, oh, you have gestational diabetes. However, I had it because by 1 point. So the cutoff was 99, and the day I did it, it was 100. And I had got it down by eating that Samsarah had suggested, the eating, and it, you know, I was like, one point, like, you really don't have to make me go through this, and so I had to prick my finger 4 times a day, really watch what I ate. As a result, I only gained 6 pounds during the pregnancy, but he was 7 pounds 5 ounces when he was born, and it was just like definitely my hardest pregnancy, mentally and physically. However, it was probably the first pregnancy that I really took care of myself, and a lot of it had to do with having a doulas, because I subsequently had Samsarah and Jesselyn and Daisy, so really I had 3, which was very lucky. But I knew that, like, I wanted support other than just my husband, which, I mean, he was a great support, don't get me wrong, but this was gonna be my first pregnancy without an epidural. And I went into it knowing that that was really not an option, because if I did have it, the ultimate option is that I could not make it out of the birth if I needed an epidural. And so it was to avoid that. And then
That was due to your medications.
due to the Lovenox, and then I had to switch to something else at the end, and I had to take 3 times a day. And that, the doctor, I worked with my doctor and special perinatologist, and they had a plan like laid out for my birth, like if this happens because of that. But I was like, well, what can I do to avoid that? And I was like, well, you know, maybe we'll get a doula this time. And my friend is Samsarah's son's girlfriend, and she's like, oh, call her, she's the best. And I was like, okay. And so we met Samsarah, and we're like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And so Samsarah had like all the suggestions. She has a great network of people, like my my chiropractor, my massage therapist. I saw an acupuncturist that she suggested. I saw my own acupuncturist. I also saw an herbalist that I said, "What you need?" And so this was definitely in my pregnancy that it was like, okay, we have to take care of me. But it was also like a pregnancy kind of discovery, and just like being able to set hard lines. Luckily, like my doctor was really supportive, as supportive as she could be in a Kaiser method, because you know I know that they have things that they have to say, you have to do, that their bosses tell them that you have to do. So they were like, we want to induce you because you have gestational diabetes, and the longer you wait, if it doesn't happen, then your placenta could die, and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I really don't want to. And so my doctor's like, well, we're not going to come to your house and like force you to be induced, but whatever. So we did a lot of stuff prior to the day that I got induced. And like my labor was starting really slow, and the induction ended up just kicking it in. So they gave me misoprostol. Initially, I asked them over the other methods that I could have, because I didn't want misoprostol because it's an off-market drug. You know, it's really for an ulcer medication. And I was like, well, what is that? And my concern was, how is it going to interfere with my blood thinning medication? They were like, well, it's not, and we talked about it. And so I was like, okay, I'll take it, but I want the smallest dosage. And so they gave it to me. I was having contractions. They were like 2 minutes apart. They were strong. I had a resident on duty, and she was not very personable. She never checked me until 10 o'clock when she came in to finally introduce herself. And I said, well, can you check me? Oh, you're probably still 2.5 centimeters. But you know, you guys, at 4:45 was the last time I was checked, so how do you know? And she's like, well, we should probably just bless your water and get it moving along. And I was like, I'll discuss it, and then I'll call you and let you guys know. And my nurse was previously a doula, and so she was like, just do what's best for you. Don't listen to her. you know it's best. And so at 11 o'clock, I took my second dose, and 11:35, my water busted. It was the first time it had happened on its own. And so I was like, oh my God, and it was all wet in the hallway. They took me back to the room, they cleaned me up, and they put like the panties on me. And so I like walked around the room a little and then sat down, and they were getting more intense. And then I was like, well, I kind of feel some rectal pressure, but I think I have to pee. So I went to the bathroom. And I was sitting on the toilet, and like when I was about to get up, it was the first time I made any noise. And Samsarah was like, oh, she came to the bathroom as we were walking out. He came out. And Jessalyn ran out and said, the baby is here. And then I looked up as I'm sitting on the bed, and like everybody is in there, and they cut my underwear off, and he was right there. Daddy's hand was there, and Samsarah's hand was right there. And so it was, yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
It was nice.
It was thrilling, scary, not
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
So if I may add a couple things. One is the resident who, we need to write a letter about her, because she was not a nice lady, but her thing was that because Mom was so under control and was not doing a lot of vocalizing, that she obviously wasn't far along. That was her thinking.
Yeah,
This
because
is a third baby.
there were other women who like were very vocal, and you could just hear them
First baby.
through the whole thing. And then she came in, like I didn't make any noise through any of my contractions until the very last one. And so when she came in and was like, "We need to bust your water," she's like, "Oh, I thought you would be writhing in pain."
Exactly, you should be writhing in pain.
And I was like, "No."
Oh dear.
And then it's like, "Okay, you can get out of my hospital.
Yeah.
You're with the nonsense right now." So that's why I was like, "I'll discuss it and I'll let my nurse know." And so then she left, but yeah.
Also, that they were a special night.
Yeah, it was our 10th anniversary of being together. And so
It was the most romantic labor I'd ever been in as a doula, wasn't it, Jessalyn? They were all like slow dancing. We had the lights all low. They had the beautiful R&B playing, and they were dancing with each other. And she had a really very, very sexy dress. It was the most romantic labor ever.
yeah, it was pretty special.
It was beautiful.
It was, I think, my easiest labor, despite being induced.
For sure.
I pushed my placenta, which is the thing that I have my pills. Yeah, and so
Jenny did your placenta post.
Yeah, Jenny did
She
my
was here
placenta.
earlier talking to me about placentas.
And it was really, I mean, I signed my papers and they put my placenta in the refrigerator. And then Jenny came the next morning, or she came that morning because I had them at 1 a.m. So she came like 10
In the morning.
in the morning,
Picked it up.
picked it up and brought it to me as I was leaving the hospital on Sunday.
Excellent. So you were, I remember you saying the difference, because now you had hers with epidural and you had Corey without.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with the doulas how it felt different?
I think definitely the after effects and the clarity of both me and the baby was so much just like I could walk without, feeling like wobbly or, and I just felt clear. And I also think because I wasn't like shouting and like making all this noise, like he's very mellow, like extremely mellow. And if I were to have another baby, it would be epiduralless again. Just because I felt so much better afterwards, like I just felt fresh and like I was able to really receive the whole experience and not feel cloudy.
It's just one of the most lovely ladies. I'm so honored to be your
love and just relief that you were out of my life. Yeah, I think it was more so just because I didn't have the drugs that I needed. But all the births were special.
Mm-hmm.
But that one was really special because it was only that anniversary.
You can say that if you want, but I don't want you to think that your birth was also special.
It's different. It's different. You know, and each one of your births are special and very different because you were Mama's first ever.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always going to be her first ever. You know, that's super cool. Yeah.
He was set up, huh?
This was still brand new. Let's let them get old.
Another sibling.
Sister.
We can't control that.
Ooh, that's on tape.
Control that. So
That's on tape.
yeah, we can. Right. Because just the other day we were talking and he was like, no. And then Christian said, oh yeah, I want a sister. But Justin said he didn't want anything after that. So
He didn't have time to meditate on it.
right, he's thought about that. So you know,
He just said no right away.
he did say no right away.
Well, lovely family. These lovely guys get us take over the whole time. And I'm gonna ask them some specific questions in a little while. But I'd love for you to talk about breastfeeding and just the postpartum recovery period, the first month of having you report. How was all that for you?
Breastfeeding was pretty easy. And it was always my intention that I was going to breastfeed because I breastfeed with both of them. And he latched immediately.
Yeah.
And my milk came down Monday. I had it Saturday, and it may have came in a tiny bit earlier, but I noticed as I got out of the shower and I was like, well, I'm dry, so what is this on my foot? And I was like, oh, okay, it's milk. And so, but he, I never had any problems like no nipple soreness or his whole mouth covers my areola. He'll drink from the bottle when if I pump and they give it to him. I haven't personally given it to him. They said he'll kind of play with the nipple. It's like, whatever. But he gets a lot. Everything. He's gained 4 pounds from his one visit to his 2-month visit. He gained 4 pounds. So we'll see how much he's gained this Friday.
Another doctor's appointment. Are you still home?
Yep.
Good for you.
And so he sleeps generally. I think he's been going through a growth spurt, so he's woken up more. But usually he'll sleep from about 10:30 at night to about 6:30 in the morning without waking up. I'm very lucky. But these last couple of weeks, he's been a tiny bit congested, and I think he's going through a growth spurt, so it's been waking up a little bit.
He also has a sound of
Yeah, he's chewing on his hands, and there's a ton of saliva, and so, yeah,
You're working on a tooth, little man?
I think.
Yeah, if you get that, he's chewing on his finger as we speak. Congrats on that, Angela. He's so beautiful.
So cute.
Aren't they just great? And their daddy. I wish we had daddy here too, because daddy is one of the bestest daddies. And I'm always bragging about my daddies because they are amazing. That your husband is quite a keeper. As you know.
Yes.
And
He's
so
very supportive.
Yes, very supportive in so many ways to you and your process. And you are another blessed couple that you read each other very well. It was nice to see during the labor. He was the first one, no, she's not gonna want that. So that's perfect. With you, we did a lot of talking about spirit baby. Because in my experience, the third baby is a challenge. And the first baby's your rite of passage because you're the first in the class. And the second baby can tend to come kind of easy, and then you kind of get
You're like, okay, I got this baby having thing. And then baby 3 happens. And then there's just additional challenges or, and not in a negative way. There's things maybe that a mom has to confront in her life. That Which
third baby, how did that manifest for you?
We did like some
Hypnosis.
and yeah, we did a lot, which really helped me deal with like some issues about like my father, men and past relationships. But I think that he was like hot, like the challenge was in like dealing with my health and the possibilities or like what could have happened if I hadn't listened to my body, or if I, you know, was just like, well, whatever. Like, because I felt some type of way about having gestational diabetes. Because it was like, well, on top of this, you mean I have to deal with this, and then it's like, oh yeah, now you have to do stress tests, and you have to go to the hospital like 2 or 3 times a week, and my doctor's like, well, you know, I want to check in with you every week, just because you're high risk, and she's like, you know, you're the least like high risk patient I have, but like we have to, and I was like, well, whatever, but dealing with it, it was just, it felt like a lot. But
So that, and correct me if I'm incorrect, because it's your experience. What I saw was like your feeling challenged around taking care of yourself and having to stand up in a certain way and feeling pushed where you didn't want to go, and how were you going to find your line in the sand? What worked for you?
yeah.
Because it was like, even to the point of like, I was telling you stuff and the doctor was telling you stuff.
It was a
Talk
lot of
about
like
that.
push and pull, especially at the end, because it's like, okay, I have my doula who is looking out for my best interest, and I have my doctor who, like some doctors, I've had doctors before where I'll be like, well, whatever. But this doctor that I had was like, very, and Mike often told me things that I know I was like, don't tell her that. Because he was like, breach at the end, like twice. And so I had to flip twice, and she was like, oh, try moxibustion, try acupuncture, try this, like, and normally Kaiser would be like, no, don't tell them, so they can come in at whatever week, and we can naturally turn them. But she was like, no, do everything, whatever. I was like, what do you think about me getting a doula? She's like, I'm all for it. What do you think about me having my placenta encapsulated? She's like, oh, that's excellent. Like, she was like, like extremely supportive. And so, in how she worded stuff, you could tell that she was like, well, I have to tell you this, but we can't make you do that. And so, it was just like at the end, I was like, I'm just so over everything.
Fire everybody.
I'm just done with everything. Like, I wish I could just go into labor and bam, he would just come out at home and I wouldn't have to do with anything. But, you know, it happened how it was supposed to happen, and I think it was like really a positive experience. But it was a lot of pushing through. And it was hard for me because, like, since I really cared about my doctor and I really care about Samsarah, I didn't want to upset either. And so for me, it felt like being in the middle of like your parents or something.
Yeah, and that's why we had to have like a State of the Union conversation, right? And so, and I hope that I did a good job in saying to you that I support what you want, and I don't want you to feel pushed and pulled. And you've paid me for holistic information that I have to share that with you. But I was sorry how it felt like it was a, you know.
But I don't think it was anything that you intentionally did. You know.
Was that someone's juicy diaper?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sad it felt that way when it did. And but then you actually really did such a wonderful job of like, you decided what you were gonna do, and I think you did the best of both worlds. That's exactly what I saw. So you feel your body healed up really, really well? Did you have any soreness? I don't think you had any tearing.
I did not
recall.
tear.
You did not tear? No. baby came fast and almost in the toilet.
Almost, yes.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was going to the bathroom, and then when I got up, he slid out. I mean, I was standing up. What do you know? I was sitting on the toilet like this, and then I stood up, and I was walking, and then he came.
You need to know.
Yeah.
Like 3 feet. Because I have one
Just going.
Like what, any hour?
1 a.m. When it was 1:05. When he technically came out, they said 1:06 when they cut him out of my
Like, why did I
They
ask?
had just fell asleep because they were with my mom, and she was texting like, "What's updates?" Yeah, and then when we told her he was there, hush please, and then she's like, "Oh, they just fell asleep like 30 minutes ago. They were trying to stay up."
But they got to come the next day. So guys, I got a question for you. Come over here. I love these guys. You got room? You're too big. Okay, so tell me, you like your little brother?
Yeah.
You like your brother a little?
I
Yeah. Tell me what's the best thing about having a baby brother. You can tell me that, actually. You're not that